Wake up!
This is Striker.
Ah, Detective Inspector.
The Velvet Man.
My reputation precedes me. How devilishly delightful. Were my ears burning? Or were you just thinking about me?
Nah, you don't got that kind of power over me.
Come now, don't be naive. I have long since mastered the darkness into which you wander. Far from the safety of the waning moonlight.
Alright, can it? Now you listen to me. I don't know what you did to poison Onesie's mind, but I know who you are. NecroStevo. Now you can dress it up all you want, but you ain't getting to me. I know the game, and I know you're just a man. Albeit one with a psychological fixation. All this shadows bullshit is smoke and mirrors. This city doesn't have ghosts. Just criminals.
Very well, Mr. Striker. Let me put this in terms your simple little mind can understand. However you spin it, I know how to get inside people's heads, and I know I've been living in yours rent-free for quite some time now. That's my power. So you can make all the preparations you want, but rest assured, the shadows come for us all, and no man, not even a man of the law, is immune to that.
Detective Striker. No, I was just wondering when you were going to call me.
That's Detective Wait. How the hell do you know who this is?
Come on now, Mr. Striker. You know who I am.
Well, you're right about that. You may call yourself the Fool, but I know who you really are. Mystic.
Well, clearly, you're a man of investigation through and through. So what can I help you with this fine evening?
Look, Daria, I'm a man of logic, alright? Of facts. But things have been bothering me.
Ah, so that's why sleep eludes you. You've been having dreams. I know what that's like.
Okay, look, first off, you need to know, I'm in on the game, alright? I don't believe in all this hokum. It has no basis in reality.
And yet you still come to me for answers? Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't you apprehend an alter ego in the not-so-distant past? Or was his basis in reality?
Fair point, I guess. Look, when this whole thing began, you mentioned something about a dream, a premonition. Somehow it helped you. I don't know how. And look, I still don't know that I believe in all this stuff. But do dreams actually have power?
That is a distasteful thing to admit. Man in your position, Striker. But visions do have power. Although not everybody has the ability to discern their true meaning. And while the darkness settles in, I'm sure you'll be able to detect your way out. That is kind of like your whole deal after all, isn't it, Detective Inspector?
So you know. Why am I not surprised? I know this NecroStevo guy is just that. He's a guy. I don't think he has powers. I think he's using some kind of psychological warfare.
I mean, that's your conclusion. Who am I to judge? You don't have to convince me, Mr. Striker.
What, so dreams, visions, their meaning ain't set in stone? I can decide that for myself?
Well, there you go. Now you're getting it. We control our own destinies. To an extent. We can still learn from clues along the way, and I am certain that is something you learned in training. However, my clues are just a little different. Would you care to hear them?
I already told you, Mystic. I ain't down with all of that.
Yeah, and you also told me you don't have to listen to their meaning. Come on. It's not gonna hurt anything. And for you, I'll even do this reading completely free of charge.
Fine.
Wonderful. I already have your spread ready and everything. Let's start. Your first card. Oh, very fitting for a man on the quest for the truth. Your first card is the Hermit. What this card tells me is that you need to be very methodical and deliberate on your quest for the truth. You need to be certain that you're listening to your inner voice. You need to be careful about the voices around you that are chirping in your ear. You got to remember that not everybody always has your best interests in mind. I think the most important thing to take from this card is that you need to remember to trust your instincts, Detective Inspector. Okay, your next card. Oh. We have the inverted Wheel of Fortune. Now, what this card usually makes me think of is the ability to go with the flow. You know, what goes around comes around, the Wheel of Fortune. However, in this case, for you, considering the inversion, I think it's probably the opposite. I think it's probably indicating that you're desperately clinging onto control, or at least the appearance of control. The problem is, I think you're in danger of losing it. I think the problem is you might be trying to cling on to it a little too tightly. Or maybe you're just unlucky. Who's to say? And now your final card. Another inversion. This time, the Magician. Simply put, you fear things that you can't see. You run from things that might not even be real. They're illusory, masked, and by the shadows.
The shadows? It's a little on the nose, wouldn't you say?
Mr. Striker, I can only tell you what the cards tell me. The way you interpret that is entirely up to you.
Look, what I make of all this is that there's a dangerous guy trying to get inside my head.
And it would appear as if he has succeeded. Has he not?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. Look, I appreciate your time, Daria.
My time is free, Detective Inspector. At least this time. Feel free to give me a call again in the future if you feel inclined. Or you could even stop by, you know, if you're not too busy visiting others stuck far from home.
Hey, what do you mean by that? Who's giving you this information, Mystic?
Huh? Oh, have a good evening, Detective Inspector.
Hello everyone, Shroomraver here, and welcome to Pokémon Premier League Week 7. Yes indeed, we finally got back on the winning streak last time. This time we are taking on NecroStevo and the Victorian Shadows. His links down in the description below, make sure you check them out. Another one that Detective Striker does not trust. He's an old friend, I would like to put my trust in him, but you know Necro, he is one with the Shadows and he is a dangerous man to go up against. His team that he can choose from, as you'll see, is Darkrai, Annihilate, Primarina, Arcaladon, Clodsire, Regieleki, and then the 4 Terra Captains, Bronzong that can go Steel, Poison, Fighting, Grafaiai that can go Dark, Fighting, Flying, Articuno that can go Ice, Flying, Fire, and the best Pokemon in the world, my favourite, Murkrow, that can go Dark, Flying, Fairy, or Steel. This is one of the most dangerous matchups I've had, for 2 main reasons. 1, I didn't really draft a proper resistance to Fairy, and 2, I didn't really draft any special defense. He has a Primarina, that's a problem. But also stuff like that, Darkrai, Arcaladon, Regieleki, Articuno, very dangerous on the special side. Annihilate can do nasty things on the physical too. So things aren't going to be easy, but we have got a team that we are going to try and use here. And first up, it is our dedicated lead and the return of Slippery Pete the Greninja. We have a dedicated Focus Sash Protean lead here with Spikes, Dark Pulse, Extra Sensory, and Sludge Wave. Max Special Attack Modest, 144 Special Defense, 112 going into Speed. That is allowing us, I believe, to outrun the Annihilate, I think it is. Yeah, dedicated lead here. He only has 1 form of removal, which is still 1 more than us. But the idea here is to maintain hazard pressure on his side of the field and chip things down with those 3 moves. To make way for one of our potential win cons, and that is going to be Choice Scarfed Sandaconda. It came defensive last time, this time we're going very offensive. Max attack, Jolly Nature, 208 speed, Scarf, that will be outrunning the Darkrai. We have Earthquake, Firefang, Skittersnack, and Endeavour. Earthquake is going to be Flavour of the Month here, only dealt with by Articuno, Murkrow, and of course that Bronzong that could be a problem. We have Firefang to hit most of those neutrally or super effectively. Skittersnack is good to possibly 1v1 the Darkrai if we need to, and Scarf Endeavour could just be useful to get something down really low and put it in range of something else. Now we do need some form of special defense against his special offense, and for that, mainly we have Citrus Berry, specially defensive Mew, max special defense, 176 timid, 80 into HP to best take on as many of those special hits as possible. Psychic Noise, Volt Switch, Roar, and Stealth Rock. I want to try and phase things around as much as possible with Roar. Psychic Noise should hopefully allow us to 1v1 the likes of Clodsire if it doesn't have Toxic or it doesn't have 2 layers of T-Spikes up. Volt Switch, good for just getting on out of there if the Clodsire doesn't come, and to be honest, I'm not necessarily expecting it when I have Terra Steel, Rotom Fan, and Orthworm on my team that completely both wall Clodsire and just give me opportunities to use them. Next up, we have one of our secondary win cons in the form of a very specially bulky Roselli Berry Haxorus here. Once again, we've gone max special defense with 200 into speed, jolly nature, 56 attacks, doesn't really need all that much after a dragon dance. We also have earthquake, close combat, and poison jab. Good coverage across his team. That special defense investment with the Roselli Berry will allow us to take any one Moonblast from a Primarina if we're at full, or even take a Specs hit. Try and set up and then try and sweep through him. But then we have a couple of other oddball mons here, coming in with Choice Banded Grimmsnarl. Max attack adamant, 216 HP, 40 into speed, just to outspeed the slower stuff that might not have investment. Dual Stab here runs very well into his team. We have Play Rough over Spirit Break in case of that Annihilate. Crunch, good neutral coverage across the rest. We don't actually need any other moves, so we do have Taunt on there with the Prankster just in case something wants to try and get nasty with us. And Trick to potentially cripple a Clodsire coming in. Final member of the team is going to be Colbur Berry Chandelure, coming in with max defense, 188 modest on special attack, 64 speed again to outspeed. I think that's an uninvested Annihilate, and a few maybe other things here and there. We have Carmine, Pain Split, Fire Blast, and Energy Ball. Fire Blast goes pretty hard into him. Energy Ball pretty much just there for that Primarina. Fire Blast will be hitting everything else neutrally or super effectively other than a Terra Fire Articuno. So that is the team we're going to be bringing against Necro. Let's hop over to the battle screen and see what he's decided to bring against us. So, Necro has decided to bring Articuno, Archaludon, Clodsire, Primarina, Annihilate, and Darkrai. Wasn't necessarily expecting the Clodsire, but that's okay. Our plan doesn't change. We're going to lead with Greninja. If we see the Primarina, we're clicking Sludge Wave. Outside of that, we are going to start stacking spikes. So, that's my plan. Let's see how the battle starts. So, here we are, PPL Week 7 versus NecroStevo and the Victorian Shadows. There he is. He is going to lead off with Primarina. Shouldn't be any great surprise. It puts a huge amount of pressure on my team very early on. But with Greninja in, we are just going to lock in immediately on Sludge Wave, get that protein into poison, resist an incoming Moonblast, which is what I'm anticipating, and try and get big damage early on. I need that on Primarina because it's such a massive threat to my team. And so here we go. Sludge Wave is locked and loaded. We're going to turn into a poison type with Protean. That's going to do massive damage to this Primarina. He is going to go for Moonblast. I have hefty special defense investment. That's still looking like Specs. We get a special attack drop. Not massive, but we're still at just over half and we've got enormous hit onto this massive threat. Now, Necro has shown that he's not averse to getting this thing out at low health to get a big hit later on. So, predicting that, I'm actually going to start stacking my spikes here, knowing I can take another hit if he's choiced, which is the prediction we're going with. So I say I'm going to get those spikes up as soon as possible. He doesn't have his Rapid Spinner, and we can start adding hazard pressure to his team. And as you'll see, he is going to get on out of there with the Primarina, which is great news. He is going to go into Mocha. That's going to be the Clodsire, which is fine. We're going to get a nice free layer of spikes up here to kick things off there. Now, I am here going to go for the extra sensory. I'm going to say I forgot that I was at -1 special attack from the Moonblast. So I'm just going to go for extra sensory, see if we can test the waters and gauge this thing set. I'm assuming it's going to be water absorbed special defense the way he's brought it in, but I do want to try and gauge that if possible. So in comes extra sensory, and that's going to do absolutely nothing. We do get a flinch here, which isn't going to really matter in terms of his health because that did so little damage. He told me afterwards he'd gone for a spike of his own there, so we'll revisit that a little bit later. But either way, having seen that that does no damage, I'm just like, I'm going to go for more spikes. This is kind of what Greninja was brought for, to get a big hit off on Primarina if it led and then hazard stack. So that's the plan, that's what we're going with. More spikes is the order of the day. And here we go. Second layer of spikes goes up on Necro's side. Again, they're there to stay. Now Necro here is going to go for Toxic. I would only guess he's predicting a switch into Mew, which would seem like the logical choice of what to do there. But either way, it's basically a free turn of spikes for us, which is absolutely great. So third layer of spikes goes up. Everything except Articuno and any Boots users is going to be taking a huge hit when they hit the field. Necro, seeing which way the wind is blowing, is going to do the same. He's getting it up his first layer of spikes right about now. So we're playing with hazards on both sides. which is unfortunate for both of us. You know, neither of us can get rid of those. But I want to now pull back on Greninja. He's done a very good job early game, all 3 layers and a big hit on Prim. So I'm going to pull on out of there and go into my Mew to see if that can better take on this Clodsire. So Greninja called on back to hopefully be used later on down the line for chip damage. As I say, I'm going to go into the little man. Mew going to hit the field, take a little bit of spikes, as Necro here is going to just go for the Earthquake. That's fine, it's not going to do a huge amount of damage to me, leaving me at just over half. And now I can either try and chip him down with Psychic Noise, or go for rocks of my own. I'm going to choose to do the latter. You know, I didn't do a lot of damage to him before, so I'm thinking Psychic Noise might not be the immediate best play. So rocks is going to be what we go for here. Going to get them up, and now all of my hazards are up on Necro's side of the field, which is great. He is going to go for a Toxic. This is fine, I'm okay with it. It's continuous chip damage, but as you'll see, the first iteration isn't going to take me into my Citrus Berry range right about now. Obviously, my Synchronize didn't work. Now, at this point, I am just going to start roaring things around. Psychic Noise isn't going to be doing a whole huge amount, so I'm going to roar him out and just hope that it doesn't go into Darkrai. Ideally, what I'd like to see me roar him into is the Arcaladon. So, Necro is going to get up his second layer of spikes. We are very much playing with hazards. That is something that we can't avoid. So, I'm going to go for the roar. Clodsire is going to get out of there. We can try and deal with that at another time. And Necro is going to be forced into the Arcaladon. Perfect, that's exactly what I wanted to see. A huge amount of chip damage onto him. Now, I'm not going to be taking a huge amount of damage from the Arcaladon when it attacks. As you'll see, my Toxic ticks over and puts me into Citrus Berry range, which is actually going to help me take those hits a lot better. So what I'm going to do is just keep using Mew to phase things around. Now, Necro's move of choice is going to be Flash Cannon. I'm very specially defensive, that's not going to do an inordinate amount, and I'm going to roar once again. Anything coming in here would be nice. The Clod would be great, the Prim would also be delicious. Unfortunately, it is going to be the Darkrai that comes in. Now, he's not Boots, he's going to take quite a lot of hazard damage, of course. But Mew has kind of run its race here. It's not going to be taking any hits, especially if it has to switch in on 2 layers. So what I'm going to do is stay in, go for Roar again, just in case he decides to get greedy. But Necro is a better player than that. He knows which way the wind is blowing. He would have seen the Roar coming a mile away. He's going to just take us out with Dark Pulse, and we see on the Darkrai that it is Life Orb. Now this is actually quite good. It means that he's not Choice Scarfed, and that is going to open the door for Sandaconda to come in and try and nab a surprise KO if possible. So, Snake Eyes Joe going to hit the field. Hopefully the rain on my roof isn't too loud. That is coming down thick and fast outside. Now, Sandaconda is in, and I know that it will outspeed this guy, assuming that he is EV'd to speed creep his Darkrai. That is what I'm anticipating. Now, I could try and go for Skittersmack if he was going to stay in, expecting him to just outspeed me and maybe Ice Beam. But I am going to go for Earthquake. It actually does a little bit more damage to Darkrai. Skittersmack is just a 1v1 in a certain scenario. But I am going to go for the Earthquake in case he wants to get smart and go into that Annihilate to try and maybe bulk up on me. And that is what he is going to do actually. He's going to withdraw Darkrai and he is going to go into Incarnadine. That is the Annihilate. Again, no boots on there. He's going to be taking a good amount of hazard chip as Sandaconda here just going to go for the Earthquake and leave him at a very low amount of health. Now, I'm not anticipating him to be Scarfed. Bulk up would seem to me to be the play. But I am anticipating him to think he'll outspeed me. But if he's not Scarfed, he's not going to. So I'm going to stay in here and go for another Earthquake and see if we can't nab a KO. And what do you know? We can. Yes, the Surprise Scarf works out a treat. We're going to get a KO with Sandaconda onto the Annihilate. Another big threat, or really the first big threat, gone from the field of play. Now, unfortunately, the jig is very much up when it comes to my Scarf. Articuno's going to come in, and he's not Boots, which is quite interesting. Good news is he takes 50% damage. Bad news is it probably means he's Choice Scarfed. That's unfortunate. I'm going to basically, if he is, have to sack something. And that is going to be my Greninja. It's, again, kind of run its race here. So I'm going to have to go into Greninja, sack it off to whatever he wants. I'm kind of privately hoping that he's Terra Fire, but it's looking less and less likely with every passing second. So, gonna get on out of there with Sandaconda. Gonna make the switch into my Greninja, kind of to sack it off. We're gonna take a bit of Spikes damage, and as you'll see, here comes the Terra. Necro is going to go all in with the Articuno. He is going to go Terra Flying. That is scary. And it's about to get even scarier because he's not going to go for Air Slash, he's not going to go for Terra Blast, he's going to just raw dog it with Hurricane. That is going to come in and destroy my Greninja. And now I'm kind of panicking a little bit. Because what do I have for a very likely Scarfed Articuno? Now, if he is Timid Scarf, there is a fair to middling chance that Chandelure, my next most naturally specially bulky Mon, will be able to take the hit. So that is what I'm going to go into. I'm just going to have to hope that I can live Spikes, live a Hurricane, and take him out with Fire Blast. So, I'm going to go into my Chandelure here. As you'll see, going to take those couple of layers of Spikes. Now, as I say, if he's Timid Scarf, we do have a chance to live this hit with our natural special bulk. I'm just going to have to hope we can do that and nail him with a Fire Blast. So, here comes that big Terra Flying Hurricane, and it is going to completely one-shot Chandelure from there. He is Modest Choice Scarf, which is not great. Now I am very much scrambling. I am kind of going to need a bit of a miracle here in order to get through this. Now, Haxorus is going to be my next best option to try and live this hit. I do have max special defense investment, so there is a chance here that we can live, and it's a decent chance for a roll for me to live this hit even after the Spikes. But realistically, I have to hope for either a Poison Jab Poison or for Hurricane to do what it does best and miss. Now, Necro is of course going to outspeed us with the Scarf, gonna go for the Hurricane, and Haxorus is actually going to live the hit. We go for Poison Jab, it does a decent amount, and we get the Poison. That is a huge saving grace, because he now dies on the next turn, and now we are actually back in this game. He's going to go down next turn, and that is actually going to open the way potentially for Snake Eyes Joe to maybe get some result back. Either way, I'm going to go for Dragon Dance, and he misses the Hurricane. That is monumental. Because we're going to go for Dragon Dance, I had no reason not to go for Dragon Dance. He either killed me or he missed. And now, as you'll see, the Articuno is going to go down to the Poison. That is massive. Absolutely massive. There was no doubt in my mind that he would take out the rest of my Mons with that Terra Flying Hurricane. But on the miss, and with the Poison chipping him down and getting rid of him, Haxorus is now at +1 with Dragon Dance, and now everything is back in my favour. In comes the Archaludon. Once again, he's going to take the Spikes, he's going to take the rocks. Now, even if he's max invested, an Earthquake will take him out. I don't have to risk him being Rocky Helmet with the close combat. I haven't seen an item yet, so he might be the Rocky Helmet. Either way, I'm going to go for Earthquake. It's not going to make contact, and we should be able to take out the Archaludon. So, Earthquake going to come in here, and that is going to indeed take out the Archaludon. Haxorus picking up his second KO of the game, technically. That actually puts him into double figures for the season, which is nice on a personal level. But now, Necro only has, I think, half his team left. Darkrai is going to be the one to come in next, and again, he takes the Spikes damage, he takes the Rocks damage. He is at very, very low health, and we know that he is Life Orb, not Choice Scarfed. I'm EV to outspeed him when I'm +1. Earthquake gonna come in here, and that is gonna take out the Darkrai. Down it goes, another one chalked up for Haxorus, and now all that is left is the Primarina who dies to hazards, and this guy, the Clodsire. Now, there is a way that Clodsire lives this hit, but as we've already assessed, he is not a physically defensive build, he is specially defensive, and unless he isn't Water Absorb, this will be doing the damage. In comes the Earthquake, and it is going to take out the Clodsire. Down it goes, and now, with another KO chalked up for Haxorus, all that Necro has left is a Primarina who we know is going to go down to the hazards. In it comes. It's going to take that spikes damage. Greninja getting the final KO from beyond the grave. Down goes the last remaining member of Necro's team, and that is going to be the game. Oh, well, what to say about that? There's rain still coming down outside, but it is not raining on our parade, unfortunately for Necro. I mean, what do we say about that? I sat there after the battle, just sat there saying over and over to myself, I didn't deserve that. I did not deserve that. And you know, I didn't deserve that. I mean, it was Hax that took it in our favour in the end. There's nothing else that can really be said about it. And it was the combination of the poison and the miss. I really only needed one of those to happen, but both of them was nail in the coffin. I mean, the miss is what allowed Haxorus to set up a Dragon Dance and sweep through. But the poison was really what lost Necro the game there at the end, because the poison put Articuno on a timer, and with Articuno down, it didn't really matter if Haxorus went down too, because at that point Scarf Sandaconda, which outsped the rest of his team, would have been able to go through it. Now, if the Articuno was still around at low health, as it turns out, my Scarf Sandaconda outsped his Articuno by 1 point. So, there is a chance that Firefang could have come in, got the KO. I could have gone into, you know, Grimmsnarl, left it until it died, and then brought in the Sandaconda. But the point of it is, Hax won us that game. And if you want to go back and revisit that very early turn where I got the flinch on extra sensory, you'll remember I said that Necro had gone for a layer of spikes. So he'd have had one more. Haxorus would have gone down to the hurricane that hit. It's so desperately unfortunate, and I don't want this to sound disingenuous, because I truly mean this. It isn't going to, I'm not trying to be disingenuous here. I've been on the giving and receiving end of winning games like that, and you don't like to see it, especially against someone like Necro, who's a very good personal friend of mine. You don't like to see a win come through. It doesn't matter whether you're the winner or the loser. You don't like to see it go down like that, because, you know, I've been there before with Padel in Bolton Flare, even when you go way back to OG PPL Season 2 against Slyro, where a massive, massive loss gets turned into a good win because of hacks in my favour. And I've been on the receiving end of the hacks as well, you know, it happens. But it is still desperately unfortunate for Necro. You don't like to see it, but it does happen. What it means is that playoffs are still in our grasp. You know, we're now 4-3. We're 5th in the table. We can still do this. But it is not going to be easy. I know I say that every week, but next week, we take on Joey, Pokeaim, and the LA Wakers, the only undefeated team left in the league. So that's not going to be easy. I am monumentally looking forward to testing my mettle against Joey. That's going to be good. Look forward to that one. In the meantime, do please make sure you go down in that description and check out NecroStevo. He is a very good friend of mine. He is putting hours of work into his content. It is fantastic stuff. You're gonna love it. So do please go and check out his stuff. Along with everyone else. Everyone else's links down in the description as well. Check them all out. They're all putting out great stuff. So you should do that. But I'm going to get out of here. I've rambled on far too long and I don't want the rain to keep interrupting me. So my final thank you to you all for watching. And I guess with that, I will see you next time. Laters.